Why mean parents have more successful kids? Okay, why mean parents have more successful kids? Okay, ready? All right, what's up guys? Welcome to today's video. As you saw the title, I wanted to get into maybe a little bit of my childhood and some of the things that I saw and I was taught, not maybe purposely by my parents, but by their actions helped me get to a certain level of success. And it's a pattern that I've actually seen with a lot of other successful and wealthy individuals. So from a very young age, just to give you context, I didn't grow up in a bad place per se. I grew up in a little town in South Houston, Texas area, which is called Friendswood. And it's predominantly a white suburb. More of the people there are well off to do, but keep in mind at the time my dad moved there, he's a teacher and we also had 7 kids, including me. So I would say I had a good childhood, but it was because my dad was extremely smart with his money and he did a lot of odd jobs. And so as I grew up, part of what my parents did is they almost used us as, I don't wanna say slave labor, but we did a lot of odd jobs as kids with them. So my dad had institute is what they called it, where he would actually teach some of his classes at, and for extra money, him and my mom would take us there and they'd have us help clean this entire building. And keep in mind, these were for high school and college students. So it was like, think of a mini high school or a mini college where we go in and we have to take out all the trash and vacuum and clean the bathrooms and all kinds of stuff that, you know, as a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid, you're not really sure why you're having to do that. So that was how I started growing up in my childhood. Then as I got older, more into my teen years, 12, 13, 14 years old, there was a very distinct moment where I remember my dad telling me that I had to get a job. And how it played out was I was wanting to go to the movies, I had some friends, their parents would all give them money, they'd all give them cars. And so, because of my environment, I thought that's how things were. And I specifically remember going to my dad, asking him for money to go to the movies. And his response was very short, terse, whatever adjective you want to throw in there. And he just said, well, do you have a job? As a question. And I was thinking to myself, well, obviously not. I said, well, Dad, I'm 14. Obviously, I don't have a job. And he responded and said, well, I guess you can't go. And then he walked away. And I remember in that moment, I was pretty livid actually, because I felt I was a pretty good kid. I didn't do drugs, I wasn't smoking, had good grades. Granted I was only 14, but I remember I was extremely upset because I'd see all these other kids getting what seemed like whatever they wanted, even if that wasn't the case. So get a little older, 16 rolls around. Now kids are driving, brand new Mustangs or Ford Raptors to school. And my parents had a 7-person seat minivan that they bought, I think it was in 2000. So at the time, it's 2008 or 9. It was maybe in the 1990s. And I'm driving this minivan to school, right? So it's a 7-seater, it looks like a dang bus. And keep in mind, at this time I'm excelling in sports. I'm doing very well in school. And so it was extremely embarrassing for, at least at the time, for people to see me in this car, right? Fast forward a little more, my parents are telling us, hey, like, we're not gonna help you pay for college. Like, you guys have to get scholarships, you gotta get jobs. So, during high school, in the summer and so forth, I would get jobs, mowing people's lawns. I would do power washing. I actually had a job at a chiropractor's office, and all the while, none of my friends are doing these things, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just want to, keep bringing this back to perspective. So I get through high school, I go off, and during high school, keep in mind, I wanted to play in the NFL more than anything in the world, and so I dedicated my entire life to working out, being in shape, and I was in extremely good shape, super athletic, and I go off to college, play a couple years of college football, didn't work out, got a bunch of injuries. Also just don't think I was playing good enough. I played with multiple first-round draft picks, and the level of difference in athletic ability is just tremendous. So I dropped out. I got convinced by a mentor of mine to drop out of school. And so all these moments I believe were kind of leading up to the next experiences. So once I drop out, keep in mind, I don't have a scholarship anymore. I'm not able to pay for school. So I move home, I'm living at my parents'. I'm going to my mentor's in-house garage, and he's teaching me all about online business and marketing. And during that time, I take jobs as a door-to-door salesman in Alabama, which was absolutely brutal. I'm doing jobs as a server. My parents are still making me pay rent, pay for my food, etc. And all this stuff that's happened in my childhood, you know, not giving me money when I asked for it, making me have to pay my own way, not giving me a car, not giving me money to go to the movies, all these things that maybe seem trivial ended up being what propelled me to want to be successful, because I knew that I didn't have a backup plan. And a lot of my friends, when I left school, high school, college, even to this day, their parents always had backup plans for them. You know, they could always get a job in their company, or they could, you know, help pay for their bills, and so on and so forth. And that was never an option for me. It just never was, because my parents literally just didn't have the money. Again, I didn't grow up like super poor, but my dad was a teacher and there was just enough for necessities, and that was it. And so going through and building a business during these years, keep in mind, I'm only making $2,000 in the first 3 years of business. So from 22 to 25, I would say 99% of people would have quit, because I only had made $2,000 during the whole time, and including, you know, I'm doing door-to-door sales, I'm not dating people, I'm not traveling. I would have maybe $500 left in my account, I wanna say, maybe at the end of the month. And so the difference and what kind of ended up helping me was going through all that struggle. And then when I finally figured out how to run a business properly, I was ready for the success that came behind it. And I think if you go and look at a lot of people's journeys, very few times do they not have any struggle, right? I think a lot of times when you look at people, you know, you could go look at Oprah, you can look at Jennifer Lopez, there's a lot of similarities. The Rock, right? Dwayne Johnson. Almost every single person had a lot of struggle. And similarly, I think a lot of those people, not always, but they almost always have some type of fitness or athletic background, because what that helped me do as well is it taught me about adversity, it taught me about determination, it taught me about persistence. And so ironically, as a kid, I hated my dad, right? Hated him. Maybe hate's a strong word, but we didn't get along very well. But later in life, I realized that the things he did and my mom did are actually one of the biggest reasons that I've been able to become successful. And so for anyone who's watching this, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't put yourself in a situation where there's no other option but to be successful. Because whenever I think I had that option, or I just looked at it as like, I can go back to school, or, you know, like, I'm not gonna put myself out there, it's very easy to not be successful, because when it gets hard, you fall back on that. But because of the way my parents raised me and how it was always, you know, Tanner, you have to do this on your own, you have to find your own way, it kind of put me in that direction to where that was the only option. So I hope that makes sense, guys. Just wanted to share a little bit of my life story today. If you like the video, just make sure you subscribe. Make sure to check out one of the other 2 videos that you see popping up on the screen. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.